afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. We are now going to discuss how to commit a fraud and not to get caught. I hope you know the session for now. How to commit a fraud and not to get caught. I wish we can all do that. We have one of the finest panelists today. Given an opportunity being a moderator, I thought I'll take a minute just to put the ball in the move. As you all know, we don't have to explain what is artificial intelligence is. But with AI coming in, the world of fraud has changed forever. Irrespective of AI or not, I want to give you one data point. The data point is globally, I hope you know that total GDP of the world is $110 trillion. $110 trillion is the GDP of the world. India's GDP is about 4 trillion, US is about 30 trillion, China is about 20 trillion. I'm rounding up the numbers. The quantum of fraud, irrespective of what type of fraud takes place in the world, is about $3.5 trillion every year. So out of $110 trillion of GDP, 3% of global GDP gets lost due to fraud. As I understand, the implication of this number of $3.5 trillion, how much has it gone up due to AI, or how much has it gone down due to AI, is not precisely known, which I presume will be known sooner. But what we are going to discuss for the next 30 minutes, we started bang on time at 2:30. We'll try to end bang on 3.0. And if we can have some questions, that would be nice. Our broad theme of the next 30 minutes, or now 29 minutes, I guess, is what's happening to the world of fraud because of AI. Is it an animal called AI, or is it a pet called AI, is what we'll need to know. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll sit there and conduct, on your behalf, a question answer session for AI and the world of fraud. I will have, to begin with, a question for all the panelists, which will be the starting question, where all panelists, I'm going to request to speak about 2 to 3 sentences what he or she feels about this topic. As I said, AI is a good news, and AI is also bad news when it comes to the world of frauds. And as I just stated, the fraud in the world is about 3.5% of the global GDP, which is happening today. So my first question to all my panelists are, one by one, that in the traditional fraud stack, how is it AI is creating a problem in the traditional fraud stack? That means we are now going to discuss the negative implication of AI, how that is creating trouble for all of us. And that's what I would like to start with. Maybe Sabyasachi, you may like to start with, if it's okay. I'll start now with right-hand side, and then we'll go to left-hand side. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thanks. So, you have given a astonishing figure about fraud. So the frauds are no more a digital fraud. It is now AI-enabled fraud. So whether artificial intelligence is good or bad, that is not the question. The question is who is using it. It is whether the fraudsters are using it, or we bankers or the custodians of financial money are using it. That is important. Now, what is the problem with the traditional method of fraud prevention? The traditional method of fraud prevention are basically of two-pronged. They are static rule-based fraud monitoring, and manual. So all these rule-based fraud monitoring, the AI-based fraudsters are exploiting that because their learning capability is too fast And based on that machine learning capability, they know which financial institution or which bank has what kind of threshold set. So they hit just below that threshold. So hitting below the belt. And that way they exploit the banking system. And similarly, they also exploit the data silos of the financial institution because they know there are silos, data are sitting in silos. So that's where they are exploiting using AI technology. So that's the problem with the traditional method of fraud monitoring today. And AI based technologies helping the fraudsters to learn that, to how to circumvent the rules. They they are doing that today.
So AI is outwitting. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies. I have not introduced my panelists. They are the finest ones in the country. So on my right-hand side is Mr. Sabyasachi Ganguly. He's a Chief Compliance Officer for SBI Bank. Just on my right is Mr. Parag Modi, who is Business Head India for Bureau. On my extreme left is Dr. Nareshkumar Harale, Senior Vice President and Department Head, State Bank of India. He looks after all anti-fraud measures. Then I move to Anuprita Daga. She is Group CISO for Angel One. And just on my left is Mr. Hitesh Sachdev. He's Head Startup, Engagement, Innovation, and Investments in ICICI Bank. Yeah, so if you want money from ICICI Bank, Hitesh is right there. Thank you. So I would move to Parag. Same question. How is AI affecting negatively the fraud stack, which is was existing traditionally?
Hi, thank you for that. The short answer is the current fraud stack was designed for humans, not for AI-based frauds. I think Sabyasachi also pointed out static rules-based order will not going to work now. We have to question everything. Successful OTP does not mean legitimate user. Same device does not mean same user. You have to question every aspect because this is a very dynamic sort of fraud which is happening these days. There are no existing profiles, past patterns based models will not work because the users, the devices, everything is being created on the fly from emulator forms to server forms to sim based forms. So the traditional model only look at static events. Just a quick example, if there is a rule in banking system today that for any new beneficiary you cannot transfer more than 50,000 bucks, the fraudster will do a 49,999 rupee transaction. So what did we save? 1 rupee. So the static rule-based things is not going to work, and that is the problem with today's fraud stack.
So the traditional fraud stack was defined and devised when AI didn't exist. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Nareshkumar Harale, your quick bit on how is the traditional fraud stack getting affected by AI? Negatively, of course.
So AI is the major threats to everyone in the digital technology, and uh, handling digital frauds is very difficult with the help of AI. So AI, we have to bring in AI to fight AI. So AI fight AI, which is the need of time. So how it is compromising? And typically, there are a couple of things. So one is the phishing attacks, very customized phishing attacks, getting targeted the individuals depending upon their profiles, depending upon their job background. So all kind of contextual information being used by AI to exploit the current the fraud stack, which is in place. So that is the primary issue. Then we have to explore the yeah, that is the main thing. I mean, I would say.
Excellent, excellent. We do understand how AI is creating trouble. Anuprita, what is your take on the fraud stack, traditional fraud stack, due to AI?
I think lot of things are covered by Sabyasachi, Parag, and Naresh. Just to add, one is that as Naresh mentioned, saying that because they have a data, they know very well how to target it. So it's a very targeted attack. Second thing is frauds doesn't mean only taking the money. Fraud is like okay, duping someone, and it's beyond the banking system. It's on a financial institute because that's where the money is. But these kind of attacks has gone beyond that also, and there are very, very targeted attacks which are happening, not through a banking system or financial systems also, at an individual level, and where you siphon the money. And one of the biggest example what we have seen is the digital arrest, right? So it's a attack on the humankind, and then by through attacking the human, how do you siphon the money? That is what I would like to define fraud going beyond the systems. I had to really give a different flavor, so I had to do that.
So AI is now able to attack everything, is what I guess, Anuprita, is you are trying to say. The whole world has opened for them. What a disaster we are in. I do hope we have a solution sooner. Hitesh bhai, ICICI Bank, we are all run after you for money. What is
So
it that's happening?
the entire threat landscape is changing. It's becoming very, very dynamic. Today, you're moving from a deterministic to a non-deterministic kind of profile of the frauds, right? And both in term of quantitative and qualitative, the tools people are using through AI are far more superior vis-a-vis the fraud stack you have built in, right? And generally, you have three, four guardrails. One is at the transaction level, if you are able to catch the fraud. At onboarding level, you are able to catch the fraud. And then the third stage is post-mortem when you come to know the fraud has happened, right? Now, the speed and the quantum with which the frauds are happening and too realistic, right? The deep fakes, if one can, see, you will tend to believe that, yeah, this is the person, asking for money. And the voice also, the kind of, models are available where the exact voice, one can match, right? So with this thing, it's very difficult to kind of, the create a protection layer using the old fraud stack. So one also needs to build a lot more dynamism now when you are dealing with, the new set of tools and then create that kind of a dynamic protection layer.
Things have really changed. I must ask a question to SBI, State Bank of India, who is the largest, which is the largest bank in the country. Um, Nareshkumar sir, you have the largest quantum of customers. How are you solving this menace of AI? We really want to know that. How SBI is suffering and what are you doing about it?
So I think SBI is the biggest consumer base, I would say, and they are very much educated on regular basis. So whether it comes to defect or all kind of social engineering related attacks being shared with the consumers, and definitely I think SBI consumers are almost ready for next generation stack, and they're well aware about AI related frauds. It could be a deep fake or your social engineering. I mean, the education is far most better than the competitive banks. So I don't think any challenge bringing the fresh fraud stack for the SBI consumers. They're almost ready, and as far as technology adoption is concerned, so as a bank, they already started building the ecosystem which enable consumers to tackle the fraudsters through proactive education, uh, proactive communication. And there is one more change, which we have brought in is the specialized numbers being given to the branches. So earlier, phone numbers used to call from other numbers, the generic numbers. Now, for branch wise, the location wise, circle wise, there are dedicated numbers given to them in 14 series, 1400, and those kind of series. So, dedicated numbers, so that will also help solve the issues related to the frauds. I think bank is almost ready for next generation fraud stack.
We are so happy to know we can now open bank account in SBI because next generation problem is going to get solved. Knowledge is power, what you said. Parag bhai, um, being from Bureau, you are actually working in this area of AI to solve the problem. What is it? What are the checks? What are the extra checks which you are going to do for us to make the world a better place to live?
What we believe traditionally is additional checks, addition friction is not going to be helpful. We put KYC checks, fraudsters circumvented it. We put OTP, they've been circumvented. So it's not the quantity of additional checks one needs to put in to tackle this problem. It is the quality of signals. It is dynamic signals, risk-based signals. So I mean, fraudster move faster than genuine users. They scale faster. So we have to be conscious of the fact that they have united, we have not. Fraudsters have united, fraud fighters are not. Consumers also work in isolation. So a lot of these controls, which even organizations like banks put, they have to move early because where does the money go finally? All the money siphoned on in frauds goes into thousands of mule accounts, which is where banks are now aggressively working and we are working with them. The idea is to stop them in the tracks and use a lot of dynamic factors instead of static factors. Is the device same? Is the profile same? Is the user same? Is the location same? Is there any change in the behavior of the user? These are the dynamic risk factors and, mind you, silent risk factors which we need to check. If you're going to tell the fraudster what checks are you going to do, they'll find out a way to beat it.
Very well said. You know what? I have ICICI Bank also with SBI, so I would definitely like to ask Hitesh bhai, what is it that you are doing to make the world safe?
So I will divide this into three stages, right? One stage is where you onboard the customer, and when you are onboarding the customer, you have to identify whether the customer you're onboarding is, using fraudulent means or the fraudulent customer which you are onboarding, right? So at the onboarding stage, you do a lot of checks, KYC, device checks, which is rightly mentioned. So at the onboarding stage, only if you can figure out that, then you actually curtail someone entering to your system itself. But that's not foolproof. The fraudster is intelligent. They will create documents which actually pass through the system. Intelligent fraudster. Though with help of bureau, we are able to catch a lot of them early at a onboarding stage itself. So that's the first gate where you catch hold of the fraudsters. Second stage is, many times the account is being opened by a person which is a genuine person, but subsequently that account is being rented out, and you convert that normal account into a mule account. So at that stage, second stage is where you see the transaction pattern. Behavior aspect comes into play here. Your ability to analyze behavior in terms of the customer profiling, whether that somebody is, let's say, using a card, let's say in Africa, customer is in India, using card at, let's say, right at night, 2 o'clock, using card at some place where making some absurd purchases. These are all indicators of, I mean, there are many more. There are some examples like behavioral pattern. And at the transaction level, you need to monitor each transaction and classify whether this is genuinely done by the customer or somebody has impersonated the customer and done the transaction. So that's the second stage where you can still catch hold of the transaction and ensure that the transaction is not allowed to happen, and you caught it right it when it's happening. So that's the second stage. Third stage is, I would say, where I think all of us need to work together is, where fraud has happened, money has been, taken out from the customer's account, but it still goes through multiple bank accounts. So money travels, to multiple bank accounts and then it is taken out. So while it is jumping up from one bank account to another bank account and series of those bank accounts, can you actually tap it, once you know that fraud has happened and money before it goes out of the banking system, can we tap it in the banking system? Like it many times it happens when you realize that somebody has used your card and done a fraudulent purchase on Amazon. If in time, if you highlight it to them, they will not ship the goods, right? So while fraud has happened, but still you are able to reverse it because in time you reached out to them, informed them, and they are not. It takes some time to ship the goods, right? So before that, you are able to stop it. So similarly, if we are able to create a mechanism where, you know, once a bank identifies, let's say if a fraud happens with a bank A, and they are able to identify that this has happened, the immediately ability to inform all the banking partners that this has happened and the money is traveled from this account to this account, please freeze it. Let not that money go out of the banking system. And that's the third stage where we can do a lot of work, which I think there are a lot of collaboration amongst the banks, regulator, and those things are required. But yeah, largely I would bifurcate this into these three stages and various actions you need to take across all these stages.
Hitesh, you made a very valid point. Behavioral analysis of a fraudster, which perhaps AI can definitely help, and people like you perhaps can, and I'm quite sure, and catch the fraudster before the money is transferred to subsequent bank accounts. Very well said. We are running out of time. We are just about 9 minutes left. I wish we can ask some questions on the floor, but we have little minutes to go. I would now move to Sabyasachi. Sabyasachi, my question here is, can a collaborative approach of all the banking system, the NBFC, the financing world help to get rid of or to tackle this menace? Can a collaborative approach help? And if so, maybe just a sentence as to what we can do to make it happen.
Yeah, of course. The solution is definitely a collaborative approach because today these fraudsters are not attacking in isolation. Only through collaboration, financial institutions can address the inter-institutional frauds that are happening. Now, I'll give you some examples. Uh, Today, what happened is the customer data, obviously because of privacy, customer transaction data, customer behavioral data, if at all behavioral data is being tracked and captured by the financial institutions, resides in within the financial institution, that too in silos. And financial institutions themselves are not able to correlate between the customer identification data, transaction data, and behavioral data at all if it is captured, the behavioral piece which Parag was mentioning. Now, what is required is, unless these these three kinds of data sets are being shared among the financial institutions, the institutions cannot leverage it. Now there are ways to share it, maybe through federated learning, wherein the raw data, because of the privacy issue, raw data will still reside within the institution, within the bank, and the model will learn there in the financial institution, and learning will be shared to create a common AI network, right? So that through that way, uh, these fraudster can be tackled in a collaborative approach. So basically, it's like a fraud consortium, anti-fraud consortium among the financial institutions. And then how it will address, my feeling, it will address in 3 4 ways. Number one is network effect. So if they have a network, we will also have a network, right? So network effect will give us, the financial institutions, a common learning, a common learning pattern uh, by sharing these transactional data. The second one is uh, to address the complex common financial threats, because in many a times what we have observed that the fraudsters are doing fraud using synthetic identity. So when they create synthetic identity, it's not that they're using in only one financial institution. The same synthetic ID is being used for attacking multiple financial institutions. So when you have a common learning platform through AI, the federated learning, that synthetic identity being used somewhere can be stopped being used in some other financial institution. So that's a common leverage. And then the third one is the obviously use of the common platform, that we will be able to share our learning among each other. And the fourth one is, when all these financial institutions come together, there's a huge amount of data to train the AI engine or the machine learning engine. Instead of one bank's data or one financial institution's data, huge amount of data is there to train the models, right? So it is a win-win situation for all of us. And to conclude in one sentence, it's one network against another network coming together to fight against this menace of AI fraud.
Subhash, well spoken. The fraudsters have a network. The financial institutions will have another network. Fight the menace. Because we're running out of time, we just about 5 minutes to go. I would like to ask a question to end this discussion before I throw it open to the house. We started this session by saying that AI is negatively making the world worse for us and helping for the fraudster. Now my question, I reverse it. How can AI help to catch the fraudsters, stop the fraudsters, and hopefully help to make a safer world? So, Anuprita, over to you. How can AI help the world of fraud, as we all know?
So I think throughout we were talking about traditional solution may not work because the attackers are very dynamic and they're having a lot of intelligence and they're processing it. We need to be more intelligent, that is what we call it. And that is where the AI, and Hitesh also spoke about what is the behavioral pattern. Sabyasachi spoke about synthetic identity. So all these things, the new ways are going to be found by attackers to attack normal citizens. So the use of AI is very, very much because that will give us an early alert. So now prevention is not the norm. Now early detection is the norm and that helps. And for early detection, like one is insider rules, what we spoke about is that use of AI to dynamically define the rules for finding out user behavioral patterns and what are the deviations and what is the unusual behavior of each transaction which Hitesh was talking about. That is one. Second thing is we also need to have a lot of intelligence from the outside. So I'm not using a word only as threat intelligence, but actually whether it is from a financial perspective with the threat intelligence or any kind of rule. So that is the rule which need to really go to the fraud risk management engine which understand that okay this has happened somewhere and that is how I need to change my rule to the detection perspective. So I think the collaboration and AI, I think that is the rule because whether we want to use, whether there's a risk, attackers are not going to stop. So it is better sooner we make use of AI, learn from that and continue to evolve our logic so that we reduce the attack landscape and we keep the attackers as difficult as possible for them to attack. So I think that is the only way what I feel is
Early
better.
warning method is what AI can do. A quick word, Parag. What is it? Just one or two sentences, please. How we can make this world safer?
I think the golden answer is collaboration. Sabyasachi mentioned about financial institutions. I'll go beyond that. Fraud is a problem across everywhere. We recently uncovered a fraud ring on a large marketplace, gig economy, where we found three devices creating 2,700 accounts in a span of 3 hours. Now, that will not stop there. That was his test ground for promo abuse fraud, and he's sharpening his skills to come to the banking segment. So, the collaboration has to be across industries, verticals, segments. AI can help us detect these patterns and behaviors. Life is all about patterns. We now know fraudster or fraud is a consortium, it's a syndicate approach. We are not talking about sharing raw data, we are talking about sharing data insights. We are talking about sharing data patterns of the consumers in order to save them from fraud. So my take is collaboration is the key. We will all have to unite. As I said, fraudsters have united. It is high time fraud fighters also unite across industries, verticals, and segments, and use AI, use neural networks, graph networks. They give us the ability to find correlations, detect frauds before, even detect users who can turn risky. I mean, I found out my watchman is a willing mule now. He rented his account. And I mean, there are so many cases now exist in India today. Education also is important. You have to tell that watchman that the money you are getting is not making you rich. It is your bail money. You will get caught. So across the spectrum, collaboration, education, I think everything will be useful.
Wonderful. Again, another network collaboration, collaborative approach, looking at how these fraudsters are going to think. We have a minute or two left. It's almost 3 o'clock sharp. Over to, yes, good day. Mike, please, over there. Anybody who is carrying mics?
Thank you, Robin, sir, for the insightful discussion. Could you ask your panelists to comment on the threat that's emerging Is it from these scam factories on the borders of Burma and Cambodia? Or is this threat largely domestic grown threats in, highly educated youth that are now getting into this and actually are the ideators of this threat?
Who wants to answer this?
I'll try to address
go ahead.
this. So, my view is, and what we have, found out through various discussion in various forums, the threat is not only homegrown. Uh, some of these threats are directed towards the country, and they use the gullible public in India to become money mule, to rent out their accounts. So basically, uh, these threat vectors, they are also providing the expertise as as a service as well. So which we can call it CAS, the crime as a service. So this crime as a service is not only homegrown, it is also directed towards the country from various other countries. So that's what my take is on this.
But some of these frauds have shifted from Jamtara to Rajasthan. I mean,
Yeah.
these clusters have shifted. But
Clusters are ever shifting. Yeah.
type of the fraud also determines deep fakes, cyber arrest, digital arrest, those kind of frauds. Some of them are originating from outside as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hi. So here the topic was rethinking the fraud stack in the age of AI, right? Now the next deadly combination that is coming is quantum computing, which means whatever encryption and decryption algorithms that you might have put in your architectures, they might be getting broken very soon because the moment your quantum the forward set of algorithms are being broken, most of the security systems that are put in place will be exposed. And typically, I've worked in cybersecurity for quite a long period of time, and typically the kind of investments that we see uh, from geographies as well as from your competitors, that could give us an idea of uh, against whom we are trying to protect our architectures, right? Now, a very pointed question to all of you guys is, what is the kind of investments that you have made in maybe initiatives like Honeypot, in initiatives?
Understood. What is the investment our panelists are making in the area of quantum computing? So make the life a little more safer. Who wants to answer it? Yeah, SBI. Best. Go ahead.
I think we feel that safe, but after uh, quantum computing, probably the all kind of cryptographic algorithms will be broken. That's the fear, right? So every organizations they already started the journey. They have started identifying the all cryptographic algorithms being used across the stack, and that's why it's not a 1 year or 2 year, probably 3 years down the line, 4 years down the line. We have to slowly change the algorithms being used, which will be safer, or with which we can tackle the quantum computing issues, quantum computer issues. Investment is already started. It is a slow start. Maybe we will see some momentum in next 6 months to 1 year.
So
Well,
just to
thank
add,
you, ladies and go ahead.
just like to add, coming on a cyber side, see, quantum is one factor, and if you see last 20 years journey, right, every time there will be a different risk and different threat, right? But this is the new, which is a old, but now this has come up the surface now. How do you do the risk quantification? And this risk score and risk quantification has been now widely adopted, and you go on a risk-based investment. So when you create the whole dashboard on the risk scoring, whether on tech side or cyber side, you know with a heat map, you know that this is what the risk is, and this is how investment go into that. There are a lot of benchmarks that how much is the investment sufficient or not. But now, if we say make use of AI, even that will also change. And I think this risk-based quantification and then risk-based investment is the new thing which has started that helps to have a better ROI based on the risk.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's 3.05. Yeah. It was wonderful talking to all of you. Hopefully, we will have a better world from tomorrow. Thank you.